How we doing, guys? Warren V here. Doing a little project today, and I didn't have a cameraman for some of this stuff, so I'm going to explain to you exactly what I did, besides make a mess all over the table. But my wife's not home right now, so I can get away with it if I get it cleaned up in time. So traditionally, you know, your GoPro mount, everybody's got them on the side, and I had mine on the side like that for a long time. One thing that annoys me is the trees and stuff. When you're going through the woods, it gets caught on them. Did a bunch of research online, and I took ideas from a lot of people. So I don't, you know, I looked at forums, I looked at videos, I looked at all that, and I come up with my own idea of what I wanted to do. Obviously, I took that off the side, and the bill mount is ideally a good place to put it, because you know you're putting it on this bill, but my bill isn't flat, so technically it wouldn't stick up there real well. Plus my shield will never go up and down like the Icon variant does with Smite, because of the way my helmet is designed. So what I'm doing is I'm switching the mount to the front mount, and what I did was, if you can see this here, I took my wife's old cutting board, she allowed me to use it, and I cut a circle out of it, the same size as the mount. It's all, I mean, obviously it's round, but the reason I did it round, and I did it with a hole saw, so you could see, it puts the hole right in the middle. That's my whole deal, was I wanted the hole right in the middle, and with a hole saw it puts that hole right in the middle. Now I cut it out of a piece of cutting board my wife had. I think she said we got this when we were married for a wedding gift, I'm not sure. So we've had it quite a while. We needed a new one anyhow. It's pretty thick, you can see it's pretty thick, and I chose this one for the simple fact is then I could countersink the nut in it, so it's not sticking out and stuff like that. But when I was doing the first one, and I don't know if you could see that, but it's not exactly straight. Like you could see it's messed up a little bit. And the reason is when I did it, I just took the thing and I went straight through. Well, when I got to the other end, it oblonged it a little bit, and I didn't want to use that piece. So what I did for the second one was I started in and went halfway, then went in the other side and went halfway, and it popped it right out, and there was a little line in the middle, but I just sanded the little line down. And when you're doing this, make sure that you are not just full bore going, because it'll melt this stuff. So you can go to the dollar store or wherever and get yourself a piece of cutting board, and like I said, don't go full bore because you will melt it, and that's what happened with this one. You can see this little fin on it here. It melted it when it started to come out the other end. So I had to regroup, think, what should I do? Well, halfway in this side, you already got the hole there from the drill bit, and then halfway in this side, popped it right out real nice. Then what I did was I took a bigger drill bit, the size of the nut. Here's the nut that I'm using, and this nut is one of them nuts with the plastic piece in it. So I took that, sized it up so I knew what size I needed to countersink it, and I just went in halfway. So I have my original hole from that drill bit going through, which is the size I need for the bolt to go through, and it's just a standard smaller, you know, smaller bolt. You don't need nothing major. It's just holding the mount on, and your GoPro, I mean, it's not really that heavy, so you don't want to go real dinky, but you know, you want a fairly decent. I don't know what size this is. Sorry, I have a whole bunch of stuff out in the garage, and I found this stuff. So I went halfway, so what I could do was take this nut and sit it down in there, but I want to show you that the nut doesn't fit all the way in. I made it the size of the hole just a little bit smaller. So then what I did is I took a rubber mallet and I pounded it in so I didn't need to have a wrench, and it was almost flush. So here's the one that I did. And you can see it sticks up just a tiny bit, but it's in there almost flush. And since I had to pound it in with a hammer, I don't have to use a wrench on it. So I can just spin that on, put my screwdriver on the other side, you know, and tighten it down. So it does stick up a little bit. It doesn't matter. The mount, it's not going to affect that mount whatsoever, because I'm going to epoxy this mount on. But if you look at this, I took this mount off the side because it's the only flat one I have. You could see that it doesn't stick up at all. You can't see it sticking up at all on that. Now that side you'll see a little gap. That's just because when I was taking it off, it ripped a little piece of the stuff off. I'm a little congested, so I apologize for that, but I'm gonna epoxy this on. Smite bought some epoxy when he did his GoPro. Excuse me. And I'm gonna epoxy that on, so I'm not gonna have to worry about that. This is gonna be flush, just like that on my helmet. So what I did was, on the front of my helmet, you can see the screw sticking out there. I picked a spot on my helmet which I thought would be good, and that was the spot, and I drilled a hole only the size of the bolt I was putting through, so that way it wouldn't come through obviously and pull out. Now I'm not going to really be able to show you the inside because I got the camera set up on my own. I don't have a cameraman, that's why I didn't show you a lot of this. But the foam, you can see it I think a little bit. The foam on the inside, I just used a bigger drill bit just for the foam. So that way the head of the screw would go through the foam, but it wouldn't go through the plastic piece. That way I don't have no sharp objects on the inside of my helmet in case I would crash. The foam is still there. It's just the screw is all the way, or the bolt is all the way through, so you're not going to have no sharp pieces on the inside. So then what I'm going to do is, and this is the fun part, is getting this screwdriver on that in there, because I can't see nothing obviously. So getting this thing on there is a treat, because I'm trying to go through that foam and everything else, and the foam's kind of thick, so it doesn't give me room to really turn it, to turn the screwdriver the way I would like. So if this takes too long, I will edit it. Nope, okay, got it. So now I got the screwdriver on there. I'm just going to take this piece and spin this right on until I start to get it to where I need it to be. And hopefully, if everything works out right, with me pounding that in with a hammer, as you can see I'm putting it on there, I won't have to have a wrench or anything on this end. Now, it's going to stick out, I understand that, when it comes through, because the bolt I used is a little longer, but I have a Dremel tool, and anybody that's got a Dremel tool can easily, or a grinder, go out and cut the end of that right off, and that's what I'm going to do. But this is going to give me a mounting surface for the GoPro. Okay, so I mean, you don't have to torque it down like super tight, because I understand the GoPro has some weight to it, but you don't want to compress this until you're trying to either bust the plastic on your helmet or pull that in. But I mean, I could go a little tighter on it. It wiggles just a little bit. You don't want to torque this thing down until you're breaking stuff, is all I'm saying. And the reason I use that plastic nut, obviously, is because with the plastic nut, I'm not going to have to worry about that backing out once I get this all together. I don't want to have to deal with that backing off when I'm riding down the road, or what have you. So I'm pretty much right there. It's tight, it ain't going nowhere. It's not gonna move around on me. In fact, well, I can spin it, but I don't want to bore you with all stuff here, but okay, so there we go. There's the mount. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to cut that piece off. As you can see, there's a piece hanging out. I'm going to cut that off. Now, I'm not worried about all this stuff on here. You can see it's kind of dirty because my wife used it as a cutting board, and that's fine because once you put this mount on, it doesn't even matter. You're going to see a little bit of these edges, and technically if you wanted to, you could trace around the edge and cut that piece off, but I like stuff to look neat and uniform, so I'm just going to leave it round. I'm not really worried about that. So let me go out and cut that off, and then I'll come back and show you what else we're going to do. I'm going to take a piece of sandpaper, scuff that all up when I'm out there. So I'm going to cut this off, scuff that all up, mix up some epoxy, and we're going to epoxy that together. So what I did was I went out, I took the grinder, I cut that off. As you can see, it's flush now. And I cleaned it up a little bit with the grinder. Like I said, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, it's a dirt bike helmet. It's going to get all muddy anyhow. So I'm going to take some alcohol and put some alcohol in here. And I'm going to wipe this off good with alcohol to get any oils or anything like that off of it. Obviously, if it was used as a cutting board, there's probably stuff on there, but the epoxy I don't think is going to matter. The epoxy, this stuff sticks to about anything, so I roughed it up a little good. Alright, now I'm going to put a little bit more on here for the mount. Now technically the mount is a little bit sticky, but it's dirty at the same time because I pulled it off the side of the helmet. So I just wanted to just clean it a little bit with the alcohol. Then I got my epoxy here. I'm going to give that just a few seconds for the alcohol to dissipate. Evaporate, sorry, not well, yeah, evaporate. And then I'm going to mix up this. I'm going to spread it on there. I'm going to line that up as best as I can, sticker fast. And it looks like I'm almost out. So that should be good, I hope. It's getting to the point that we can't keep using this stuff anyhow because it's we've used it so much and put that cap on so many times that it. So with the epoxy, I got the 2-part in the 2 tubes. You squeeze it, it's supposed to come out evenly. You gotta mix it up real good. Depending on how much it puts in, how hard it gets fast. So it's mixed up pretty good. Let me move the helmet just a little bit. So I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to smear this epoxy on here like I'm icing a cake. And I know I'm going to have a little bit too much on, and that's fine. It's going to squeeze out. I'd rather have it squeeze out a little bit so I know that it's on there real good. And then I got a, like I said, I got a piece where it broke there, so you can see I got her pretty epoxied up there. Now one trick I like to do, I take this, get it all in one little area here, and then I set the knife in it, and I'm going to leave that because I'll be able to tell whether it's hardening or not and how long by just testing that with the knife in there, just see if it gets stuck to it or not. So I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this part real well. I'm going to try to do it so you can see it, but I just want to take this and epoxy that right now. Epoxy is really, it likes to move around until it gets set up, so I'm almost going to have to set this helmet somewhere where I can keep an eye on it because I don't want it moving all over the place until it starts to solidify or solid or whatever the word is you call it. Somebody who knows a little more better words than me can tell me what the word is, but there's a chemical reaction that makes it harden. I know that. So I don't know the exact term for it, but I guess it doesn't really matter. But hopefully you can see that. I can't tilt it down too far, because if I do, it's gonna fly right off. So there we go. We got it on there. And once that's set up, I'll get the GoPro on it and everything, and I'll show you how it worked out. So I'll see you in a little bit. Okay guys, back, and remember I said I was going to keep this to check it, and you can see, maybe. So I use that to kind of test it. So that's set up pretty good. There's the mount. Got it on. It's nice and stable. And what I'll do is just take this and slide it on there. And there you go. Now you got the GoPro right on the front of the helmet. You get better shots that way, I feel. Less tree limbs hitting it and stuff like that. Kind of gives you that aspect of you riding the, like a first person view of you riding the bike. Plus when I go to look around, you know, obviously I'll get to see all the other stuff going on. So there it is. Turned out pretty good. We're gonna go for a ride and you can see the difference. So stay tuned and subscribe. We're gonna have a lot of stuff coming up. We're going to be going to West Virginia again this year. I think it's June 12th, 13th, 14th. A bunch of YouTubers are meeting down there again. We're gonna do that. Still have the new segment, Story Time with Warren V. So we're gonna have that segment. Obviously we're just gonna do random riding stuff too. We wanna go to Tall Pines this year, back up to Seven Lakes. So we got a lot going on. So if you liked the video, subscribe, press the like button. If you didn't like the video, press subscribe and the like button anyhow. So let's go for a ride.